Hey, podcast family. Welcome to Motherhood in Black and White. I'm Kaanji.
I'm Tara.
This week, we are going to flashback and reshare an episode from last November 15th, 2020, when we spoke with the powerful Gretchen Carlson about arbitration clauses and sexual misconduct in the workplace.
Yes.
So one of the reasons we thought this conversation was so important to share is because of how relevant it is to what's going on right now in American politics and in American culture.
That's right. Last year when we spoke with Gretchen, we talked a lot about her organization, Lift Our Voices, and one of their primary goals was to pass a bill in Congress that ends mandatory arbitration in workforce contracts. And the reason for that is because those mandatory arbitration clauses make it difficult for people who have been a victim of workplace harassment to file lawsuits. They're usually forced into NDAs. They just have to kind of take the money and quietly go away. And then things continue as they were. And what we've seen this month, just in the last couple of weeks, is that the most current bill up for vote in the Senate has passed the Senate committee and is going to be put to a vote on the actual Senate floor, which is a huge move in the right direction. And so I've seen Gretchen in the news recently. This has been really bubbling up, and it just seemed like a perfect time to reshare this conversation.
Yeah. In the last several weeks, sexual assault survivors have been providing emotional testimony before the House of Representatives about how they have been required to stay silent because of these forced arbitration clauses in workplace agreements and what that means and the chilling effect that that has on reporting misconduct in the workplace and how the cycle has kind of perpetuated and continues, and the incredible work that Gretchen has done and continues to do to stop this cycle. So this was such a powerful conversation that we had with her, and we want to share it for you, podcast family. So we hope that you enjoy this conversation with the powerful, the incredible, the brave Gretchen Carlson. So Gretchen, welcome to the conversation.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for agreeing to join us. It is such a pleasure to meet you, to share space with you, and to hear your voice and your amazing story.
Thank you.
Gretchen, we're so happy to have you on today. Kaanji and I were kind of talking about why we started this podcast. And one of the reasons that we started the podcast is to kind of prove that there's strength in numbers, among mothers and among women. And, we know your story and your success in suing your employer for sexual harassment. And then you took that story and you turned it into an advocacy for all women in all workplaces.
Yes.
And one of the things you've done recently is your new organization for Lift Our Voices.
Yes.
And we'd love to hear a little bit about the mission of that organization and how that came to pass.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me. I mean, first of all, life works in mysterious ways. My life has worked in really mysterious ways, but I think the constant in my life has been that if there's a challenge in front of me, I go for it. And, I don't think that anyone in life would aspire to become one of the poster children for sexual harassment in the workplace. I know that wasn't on my resume per se, but, it was what life dealt me. And I decided to somehow dig incredibly deep to find the courage to come forward, not knowing at all that it would help to ignite a cultural revolution, not just at Fox, but everywhere in the world, 15 months before the Me Too movement exploded. And what I learned shortly thereafter was that I wasn't alone. I learned that there were thousands, maybe millions of other women in our country who had gone through something similar and whose voice had never been heard. And I just went back to my Midwestern values and hard work ethic. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do something about this. And I just rolled up my sleeves and I started working. So the first thing I did was I wrote my book, Be Fierce, as a tribute to all those women who were voiceless for forever. Mm-hmm. And then I started pounding the pavement and walking the halls of Congress, trying to pass legislation to take this entire harassment issue out of secrecy. And that just morphed into every day being a surreal experience and something unexpected. And eventually I created Lift Our Voices last December as serving as my umbrella organization for all of the advocacy work that I was doing. So really what we're fighting for is to stop silencing women in the workplace. And there are certain mechanisms like non-disclosure agreements, NDAs, that make it incredibly difficult to solve the harassment issue because everyone's forced into silence.
Yeah. And has that been the most challenging part about eradicating laws and business practices that create toxic workplaces, do you think, the NDAs?
Yeah, well, that along with something kind of complicated, but it's called an arbitration clause in your employment contract. And that means you can't, simply stated, it means you can't go to an open jury process, which is your Seventh Amendment right. And so what companies have been able to do over the last 3 to 4 decades since we started talking about sexual harassment in the workplace is that they figured out that these two things, arbitration and NDAs, would be basically a way to hide their dirty laundry.
Mm-hmm.
So that if you go to work for a company and they hand you an employment contract and you see an arbitration clause, you're kind of screwed. I mean, I hate to say it that way, but you are, because if you don't sign the contract, somebody else will, unless we're in the movement that we're in now where I'm creating awareness about that. But in the past, that was a way that they got you.
Yeah.
And then NDAs too. And listen, the intent of NDAs and arbitration was never, ever to silence for human rights violations. It was like to unclog the courts because there were too many cases.
Right.
Oh, let's send that to arbitration, right? Because it's a small business dispute. And NDAs, we're not fighting to get rid of NDAs like for the recipe for the Big Mac.
Right. For trade secret.
No. We're talking about toxic workplace situations like gender discrimination and racism and sexual harassment and even assault. Basically the American public thought that everyone had a clean record because we were not hearing anything about these cases. And the reason we were not hearing anything about these cases is those two silencing mechanisms.
Absolutely. And you were such a fierce advocate for pay equity as well.
Oh, yes.
And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Gretchen, but one of the ways that we are able to maintain pay inequity amongst women, particularly women of color and men, is because we don't talk about pay issues in the workplace.
I know it is so true. And even like in Great Britain, they disclose what they pay people. And I like that. My husband's in the baseball business and everyone knows what baseball players' salaries are. Mm-hmm. And it helps him in negotiating. I mean, come on, that's valuable information. And imagine if we did that for a gynecologist who's a man and a gynecologist who's a woman. And then we find out the woman's making $100,000 less than the guy. We're so closed-minded in this country about, we can't talk about our salaries. And consequently, women get paid, and especially as you mentioned, women of color get paid way less. And it's all intertwined. This is because the more women that you pay fairly and promote and put them in higher positions in companies, guess what doesn't happen? Sexual harassment.
Right.
So you see, it's all intertwined.
Yeah.
I know one of the things that specifically Lift Our Voices is doing is pushing for the Ending Forced Arbitration of Sexual Harassment Act. I know, like you mentioned, you've been at Congress sort of pounding the pavement for that legislation. I also noticed that you guys are doing some advocacy trainings for women. Can you tell us a little bit about that piece of it?
Yeah. So just to be clear about the bill, that is my bill. The most important thing is that it's bipartisan.
Incredible.
The reason that I wanted it to be that is because, first of all, this nation needs to come together, okay? I know there's been some people out there poo-pooing the idea of unity. This nation has to come together. I am a huge believer in unity. I hope I can be a unifier on this front and many others. It's just crucial that we find a way to come together and get stuff done. So this is an issue that we can come together on because harassment is apolitical. Somebody doesn't ask you what party you're in before they decide to abuse you or harass you.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we should all want to work together to solve this. So it was really important to me that my bill was bipartisan because after covering politics for 25, 30 years, I realized that unless it is bipartisan, forget it.
Right.
It's not going anywhere. So that's the first thing. And I'm actually really, really hopeful now that moving forward in January, we'll be able to really make inroads and get this thing passed. So that's the first thing. As far as training, people in advocacy, I just want everyone to know that their voice matters, that a singular voice can make a difference. And one of my favorite quotes, and it happens to be anonymous, and it's sort of been my trademark over the last 4 years, is this quote. And it goes like this: "One woman can make a difference, but together we rock the world." And we're seeing that play out in real life now. I may have been the one woman that jumped off the cliff, but look at all the others who followed and it was okay after they did, and they did rock the world. And I just want to pass that courage along to anyone else who's struggling in anything in their life to know that their voice matters.
Yeah.
I think one of the best examples of that was when the Google walkout happened several years ago. People forget what that was all about. It was one woman's idea. It turned into an international day of men and women supporting that one woman. And you know what she was protesting? She was protesting payouts to predators. Mm-hmm. And it was all about sexual harassment. And the next day, she was also protesting arbitration clauses. The next day, Google took arbitration clauses out of their employment contracts. So it proves that one woman's voice does matter. And together, when we collectively decide that we're going to advocate for something, the power is immeasurable. It's just, I just want everyone to know that they have power. And sometimes it's really hard to stand up and own it. And it was so hard for me to do that.
Yeah.
It was so hard.
Yeah. And Gretchen, you were the first and you were a trailblazer. The level of confidence that you have had to put yourself in that space, in that place, I can only say as a woman who has worked in predominantly male industries.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for your courage.
Thank you.
What can we say to women who may be in positions where they just don't feel at this point empowered or have the courage to stand up in situations where they may feel inequality or they may feel silenced?
Yeah.
What advice would you give?
So chapter 4 in my book, Be Fierce, is really my playbook. In fact, it's called the playbook, my 12-point plan for women who are feeling this way. And I encourage them to get the book and rip out that chapter and put it in their back pocket because they're going to need it. I'll just give you the 3 top points. Evidence. Evidence is so crucial when you are feeling downtrodden and like you have nowhere else to go and you feel like nobody's going to believe you and you've got to gather evidence. And then make sure you take it home, because I heard from so many women who did gather evidence and then they got fired for reporting it. Mm-hmm. And when they went back to their office, of course, they couldn't go back to their office, and that evidence that they had in their office, right, they couldn't bring home. Yeah. So make sure you collect evidence and bring it home. The second thing is that it's so important to consult an outside lawyer. Don't go to HR right away. You must consult an outside lawyer. And there are organizations now that are offering that for free. BetterBrave.org does this for free. Also, the National Women's Law Center out of Washington, D.C., they will hook you up with a lawyer, even a 10-minute conversation to just let you know whether or not you have a case or where you stand. And then number 3 is tell somebody. I know it's so hard, but please get the courage to tell 1 or 2 people, because then you have witnesses. And in this game of he said, she said, which we're still dealing with, it's just so important to have allies and bystanders who can say, yeah, she told me about that 2 years ago, and here's what she said.
That corroboration.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. And before we turn a little bit to your personal motherhood journey and your experience raising 2 teenage kids, wrapping up with Lift Our Voices, can you tell us how we can get involved and what it is we can do to support your nonprofit and what our family, our listeners, can do?
Thank you so much for asking. So my website for that is liftourvoices.org. I created this with 2 other former Fox employees who also sued Fox for varying degrees of harassment. And we banded together to create our own power unit to say that we're going to change the world for the rest of the women who maybe don't have the same platform and resources that we do. So right now we're in a major fundraising mode. There's only one of me, and there's only one of Julie, and there's only one of Diana. And so I speak as loud as I can and as often as I can every single day. But we need to hire people. We need manpower to help us really make this mission successful. We've had so many people reach out and say, we'd love to volunteer. And we have a huge list of people, but right now we need funds to be able to hire the people so that we can create not only a national office, but also regional offices. So we're really optimistic about our fundraising so far, even through COVID. So that's going to all become a reality very soon.
We will make sure to include links to liftourvoices.org, your book, your personal website, and all of the other organizations on our website. And we hope that, family, if Gretchen's story has touched your heart, as I know it's touched mine, and I kind of resonate so much with what she's saying. Yeah. Please support. We've got to get in the habit of supporting each other as women and as mothers.
Absolutely.
And as a mother, we hope that you can support me and Tara now. So Tara and I, so we need your help. Tara and I have sons that are on the cusp of adolescence, and you have 2 kids that are teenagers, right?
Yes.
So can you just talk to our audience and talk to me and Tara about some of your tips for raising teenagers?
Thanks so much for asking about my kids, because really they were paramount in my decision to come forward, because I worried about them. I worried how it would impact them. I mean, I worried about me too, but I really worried about them. And they were 11 and 13 at the time, and they're now 15 and 17. And, I really underestimated my own kids and the level to which they would be able to handle the situation and grow from it. And it's been so rewarding to see that courage transfer to them. And I have two small examples of how that happened. Shortly after my case, my daughter came home from school, and a couple girls had been bullying her at school, and she hadn't found the courage inside of her own self to be able to stand up. She came home that one day and she said, "Mom, I finally did it." And I said, "What?" And she said, "I finally told them off." And she said, "Mommy, I did it because I saw you do it."
Wow.
And that was just like a day of so many raw emotions, because I realized that maybe I had had an impact on my child.
No, maybe.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, maybe.
100%.
And she knows now. She knows now what it feels like to take that stand. And once you do that, by the way, for all your listeners, you're so proud of yourself. And that makes you have the ability to do it again and again. And then my son, which I actually think it's more important, this whole discussion is really about how we raise our sons.
Yes.
Because it's about, how do we make them respect women in the workplace like they respect their moms and their sisters and their aunts at home? That's what we need to teach our sons. And that's one of the biggest lessons I've learned. So when I came home one time after doing a town hall on CNN about harassment, my son was waiting for me in the kitchen. And he had a look of consternation on his face. And he said, "Mommy," he said, "is it true what that other woman on TV said with you, that once every 73 seconds in our country, a woman is harassed or assaulted? Mommy, is that true?" And I said, "I'm so sorry to tell you that that is true." And he looked at me with tears in his eyes and he said, "Mom," he said, "as a young man, I want to help solve that."
That's incredible.
And I hugged him so hard, because it made me realize in that moment that even if that's all I accomplished with this for my two children, even if that was it, I've changed their lives and given them an awakening of what the real world is about. And that would be enough. But I know it's been so much more, because now they will take that courage and they will take that insight and understanding of respect, and they'll pass it along. And so that's my advice specifically to parents out there, is we do a great job of raising up our girls and empowering them. In fact, they outperform boys, all the way through college. It's what we don't tell them about what happens to them in the workplace. And it's what we don't educate our boys about early on, to make sure that they respect women when they too get into the workplace.
Yeah. And before you joined us, Gretchen, Tara and I were having a conversation about how important the election of Vice President-elect Kamala Harris is,
Oh, yes.
but not to our girls, because I think everyone is putting and shining a light on that. But because Tara and I are raising sons, we make sure that we tell them how important it is for them as young boys to see women in power, to see women as people who can be leaders, and know how they, as boys growing to be men, will fit into a future workplace and dynamics that will look different than they do now.
Right.
I love that. I was in the car with my son when it was finally announced, and I had tears coming down my face. And he said to me, "Mom, I know why you're crying." And he gets it,
Yeah.
He gets it now. And the other thing I just want to pass along as a parent is, I've always made sure that my kids' doctors and dentists are women. I love men too. I love men, but I want them to know that there are women in these professions, obviously. And I don't want them to have that sort of surprise in their eyes when you get on an airplane and you see there's a female pilot, right?
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
I want them to know that these women, so now they think all doctors and dentists are women, to be honest with you, which is really good.
Yeah.
So I'm preparing them for the world, I hope, in the right way.
Yeah, you have done an amazing job, Gretchen. And before we let you go, because I could talk to you all day. But I wanted to wrap up, and we wanted to talk to you about your experience as Miss America. And my question is, do you still play the violin?
Oh my gosh, no. Talk about, I know it's a guilty thing for me. As much as I try and make women not feel guilty about anything, I look at it in my closet every day, and I know I should go back to it. My father would be so happy if I did. Music is still in my heart. My kids are both exceptional pianists, and I vicariously get it through them. And I can still see all the notes. I see all the notes of all the symphonies and concertos, but I just can't play them with my fingers anymore. And I think that I should just give it a try. I know, but it's hard to go back to something that you'll never be as good at as you were when you were 14.
Oh, I get that.
Yeah.
One of the things that you are as good at, if not better, than you were 15 years ago and our paths first cross is sharing your story and talking. And we've missed having you on TV and on the air, but we understand that that's changing and you are coming back to People TV and you actually are about to launch your own podcast. Can you share with us about these new endeavors?
Thank you so much. Yes. So I'm a special contributor to the new People Magazine TV show. And I'm so excited about that because People is an iconic brand. And I'm going to be sharing inspirational stories about men and women all across our country. And I think people feel comfortable telling me their stories because they know they can trust me and they know what I've been through and that I don't judge at all. And so I'm really, really looking forward to that. I just shot some of my first few stories and they will be on peopletv.com and also on your local stations across the country. As far as my podcast, yes, it's on quakemedia.com/Gretchen. It's a subscription service. But why I want to do this and dip my toe back into daily news again is because it's 10 minutes, but it's straight down the middle news. I feel like in this hyper-partisan time we live in, all my friends are saying to me, where can I just get the facts? And I was kind of at a loss as to what to tell them. And so I created this podcast of straight down the middle, 8 to 10 headlines of the day where you can trust it implicitly. There's no opinion. And I'm really, really proud of this podcast. And so people can check it out at quakemedia.com.
We will definitely check that out because
that's absolutely something I'm looking for.
Yeah, I said only 10 minutes. We want to hear you talk forever, but we
For
know
sure.
that you have to go. I will say that the only person that is more excited than Tara and I to hear your story and to hear your voice is my husband, Joey, who 15 years ago serenaded you on national TV when he was still my boyfriend. And people want to know how I didn't kill him after that. But so we just wanted to share with our family that, Gretchen, when you were on the air with Fox, I think you had a segment where you said there was no song about your name.
Of course.
And my husband came home that night and he wrote the song and he serenaded you on air for everyone to see, including my mother and my grandfather.
Oh my gosh.
But when everyone saw how lovely you were, they were like, of course he's going to serenade her. So if you wouldn't just tell us a little bit and say hi to Joey, of course, but what having him write a song for you meant to you?
Oh my gosh. It meant the world. Joey, I've missed you so much. You're so talented. And, the thing was, I remember saying that Gretchen, like nobody had ever written about Gretchen. I mean, it's such kind of a hard, like I always thought it sounded like a hard-lying name, there was never a nickname for Gretchen. And my mom used to call me Gretchy. I'm not sure if that counts, but, anyway, he just took it upon himself and he made me feel like a queen. And trust me, Joey, you're the only person who's ever written a song about Gretchen. Okay. So you're going to go in the Guinness Book of World Records for the only person who's ever written a song about Gretchen, but it meant the world to me. I still think about it. I remember it like it was yesterday. And again, you're so talented, and I'm sorry if I made you at all jealous because I did not mean that at all.
Gretchen,
in having your husband write me a song.
That's okay. He's been paying for it for 15 years, so
oh my gosh,
it is nice to have something to hang over his head every single day. He'll never win an argument ever. First, I'm a lawyer, so he's never going to win. But anytime we get in a fight about anything, I'm like, yeah, but you serenaded Gretchen on national TV. But Gretchen, you are so fetching. I remember the lyrics, and I'm glad he made you feel like a queen because you are a queen.
Thank you.
And you are a woman that we all should emulate, and we are so thankful for you for sharing space with us and for sharing your heart and your story. And again, family, if you can, please let's get involved with liftourvoices.org, and we will have all of the information about that and the other ventures that Gretchen is involved in on our website.
Thank you so much, Gretchen, for joining us today. I can't wait to see what you got coming on People TV. I'm definitely going to check out your podcast. We've enjoyed this so much. It's such a powerful conversation. We appreciate you.
Thank you. Anything I can do for all women and Joey. But thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's been my pleasure to chat with you. Thanks.
I'm so glad I didn't kill her.
When you were jealous 15 years ago?
I was a little jealous, but rightfully so. My gosh, If Joey had not written a song about her, I most definitely would have, because Gretchen is someone who has made a difference. She said earlier in the interview, the anonymous quote, that one woman can make a difference, but together we rock the world. Gretchen is that one woman who made a difference.
Very powerful.
She spoke up. And my favorite quote is one by the Black womanist feminist Audre Lorde. And the quote says, when we speak, we are afraid that our words will not be heard or welcomed. But when we are silent, we are still afraid. So it is better to speak. And with that, I always remember that it's better to speak your truth and live in your truth. And that's what I'm going to take away from this conversation.
I think what I am so in awe of is we've heard stories, all our lives of one woman who, fought, maybe she won, maybe she lost, but you hear the story and then it seems like things kind of get quiet again until the next one. And what I am in awe of for Gretchen is that, she brought her case, she won her case, and then she turned around to all the women behind her and said, okay, let's get you guys taken care of. You know what I mean? Like, she was like, how do I make this this is not just about me. And when she told us that quote it just really sticks for me, that she looked at the cases and she said, these are two things that are legitimate policy changes that we can make. And if I make these changes, or we make these changes, it benefits all women everywhere. It's so incredible.
And the courage that it took, but also the reality that what she was doing was not just for herself. And the stories she shared about how her decisions impacted her son and her daughter.
Oh my God.
Doesn't that remind us kind of why we do everything we do? It's for our kids.
All of it.
We fight the fights. We get up and go to work when we're tired, when we're sick. We give to our kids what we don't have for ourselves. Because we know that this is a world that can be better, and we do our part, whatever that looks like.
Totally.
Yeah. And family, we are so thankful for you. Thank you for listening in. Thank you for sharing time, and thank you for sharing space. And thank you, Gretchen, for making the time to join us today. Be good, be well, guard your health, mental, physical, and spiritual. Take good care.